This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. We are learning Sefer Ovadia. Wish everyone a Freilich and Chanukah. And we're learning the last two psukim of Ovadia. We've already encountered a number of very interesting machlokesen between the Ibn Ezra and the Abarbanel. One machlokes that we discussed was the identity of Ovadia, where the Ibn Ezra says that we don't know who Ovadia is, and the Abarbanel says, what do you mean we don't know who he is? The Gemara tells us who he is. The Gemara says it's the same Ovadia as in Sefer Malachim, and Ibn Ezra had a question, well, then why in Malachim would he only be called a Yarei Shamayim, Yarei Hashem, if he was a Navi? To which Abarbanel said, well, maybe because at that point in time he wasn't a Navi yet. So in the last two psukim we will encounter another two machlokesen between the Ibn Ezra and the Abarbanel. So let us look back in Pasuk Chaf. This is Ovadia, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Chaf. V'golos hachel hazeh. And this, the beginning of this exile, Livnei Yisrael, of the Jewish people, Asher Canaanim, that the Canaanim, ad Tsarfas, until Tsarfas. So immediately we see, what do you mean that the Canaanim? Who said anything about the Canaanim? We're not talking about the Canaanim, we're talking about Bnei Yisrael. Until, presumably, France. V'galos Yerushalayim, and the exile of Jerusalem, Asher B'Sfarad, that is in Spain. Yershu will inherit Eis Arei HaNegev, the southland of Edom. So let us take a look at the Ibn Ezra. What does it mean? Galos Hachel Hazel of Bnei Yisrael Asher Canaanim ad Tsarfas. What do the Canaanim Mandachar Shemei? Who mentioned anything about Canaanim? So the Ibn Ezra says, Amar Rabbi Moshe Hagalos Shehechelu Legalos. The word Hachel means the beginning of. For Rabbi Marranos Amar Ki Hachel Kamoi Vayav El Chel V'Chayma. Chel is a rampart. Asher Canaanim. So now the Ibn Ezra brings a testimony. And we mentioned this briefly last week. Asher Canaanim. Shamanu mipi gedolim ki eretz Almaina, the land of Alamain, the land of Germany. Heim ha-Canaaniyim. The Germans are Canaanites. How did the Canaanites get to Germany? Shabarchu b'nei Yisrael b'vayom el ha'aretz. When Klal Yisrael came into land, we kicked out the Canaanim. Where did the Canaanim go? They went to Germany. Gam kacha Tsarfas hi Francia. Also France, they're also Canaanim. So if you want to know why the Germans and why the French are such anti-Semites, we have a long history.
Yeah, they want the right of return too.
How did they get all the way over to Western Europe? And there are a lot of closer places they could have gone to.
Good exercise.
Oh, okay.
That's where they went.
The Italians and the Romans didn't want them.
Where did they come from? Canaan. They came from Canaan, and we kicked them out, and they went to Germany and France. The Targum Yonasan ben Uziel Sfarad Aspamya. Now, when did Jews go to Spain? Vezuhi Golos Titus. Vezois Hanavua la'asid. V'loi kasher amar Rabbi Moshe ki az nifzeru mehabayis harishain. In other words, the way the Ibn Ezra reads this pasuk, let's go back and read the pasuk. V'golos hachel hazeh, the beginning of the exile. What's the beginning of the exile? The beginning of the exile were the 10 tribes. Where did they go? They went to where the Asher Canaanim. They went to where the Canaanim went. Where did the Canaanim go? Ad Sarfas. The Canaanim went until France. The Galus Yerushalayim, and where did Galus Yerushalayim go? Yerushalayim went to Asher. They went to Spain. So please take a look at your sheet in the Abarbanel. The Abarbanel has choice comments to make about this report of the Ibn Ezra that the Canaanim went to France. Let's take a look first at page Kuf Yud Zayin. We're on the right hand column. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines from the bottom on the right hand column. Ukfar hoidaticha das harav Rabbi Avram ben Ezra. I already told you the opinion of the Ibn Ezra. Shenim shachacharav harav David Kimchi. The Radak, Rav David Kimchi, followed that opinion. Shekananim heim ho Ashkenazim. The Germans, they're Kananim. Now, why did the Ibn Ezra think that Germans are Kananim? Ki nismach Rav Avram Ibn Ezra amashidu loy. The Ibn Ezra relied on the testimony Ashkenaz Nasyasha me Kananim. Ukfar amarti shu eda sheker. I've already told you this is just false. Never happened. Germans are not Kananim. Kananim never went to Germany. They're both anti-Semites, but they're not the same people. And the Abarbanel learns the following: that the Kananim never went to Germany. You read the pasuk, the Golos of the Bnei Yisrael, Asher Kananim, just like the Kananim were scattered, Ad Sarfas, you will be scattered to France. But not that the Kananim were scattered to France. The kaf is like a kaf hadivyon. Ki, it's like a double kaf.
Just as.
Just as. Just like Rabbi Avram ben Ezra says, Shoichni b'chag ve'sela, it's ki shoichni. Kananim here means ki kananim. Ratzalayim Yisrael, shaholchu b'golas ba'yisheni. Where did we go? We went to Greece, we went to Italy, we went to France, just like the Kananim went. And the Golos Yerushalayim that went to Spain, take a look at these words. Umat toiv amroi. You see where I'm on the left column, about 14 lines down. The first one line is Hanegev. Umat toiv amroi. And how even better it is, V'galos Yerushalayim asher b'Sfarad. These words, the exile of Yerushalayim that's in Spain. Ki hinei b'nei Yehuda halchu l'Sfarad. We know that Shevet Yehuda went to Spain. Mechorim bayis Rishain. From the time of the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Shevet Yehuda, we're predominantly from Shevet Yehuda. Shevet Yehuda went to Spain. Who took them there? Shahaylicham sham Piro Melech Sfarad. Piro. Who's Piro? Maybe
Some Spanish king or
a Spanish king. Maybe Ferdinand.
He had a visa program that took them in as refugees.
He situated them in two locations. One is Ho'echad Belozina. Shahaisa az ir gedoyle be'Andalusia.
Andalusian.
Where's that?
It's I think it's a peninsula area inside Spain.
Asher mimalchus Castilla, Castile.
Yeah, that's part of Spain.
V'hasheni b'mechoyz Toltula, that's Toledo. Kamasher kasafti b'soy perushi l'sefer melachim. Frekta Barbanel. We're talking about Spain. We're talking about France. What country are we not talking about?
Poland. Germany.
No. We don't talk. What happened to England? He says, in Galatira. Why don't we talk about England? You know why? So we also went to England after the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. England was considered part of France at the time. In the early history books, in the Sifreim HaKadmonim, England was considered an annex to France.
Andalusia, a region in Spain bordering on the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea.
Okay, so that's on the
southwestern portion.
That must be the west, right?
Section below Seville, near Gibraltar.
Okay.
It's southern Spain.
Gibraltar. There are people listening to the Shiur in Gibraltar. That's good. Okay.
You know where Andalusia is.
Okay. Now the Abarbanel asked $1 million question. What's the Navi talking about? The Navi is saying when Mashiach comes, Jews will return from Spain. Jews will return from France. There are no Jews in Spain. There are no Jews in France. At least in times of Abarbanel, they were all gone. So what's the Navi saying that Jews will return? Look what he says. Ish asher b'shem Yisrael yichun eloi ish. Right? There's not one Jewish man in all of Spain today. And how could this be? Loi ish kel v'chazev. God cannot lie to us. Ki tamid yiskayim hayir hazeh. It has to be that the nevuah will either be fulfilled by those Jews who used to live in Spain, but then he says, unbelievable. V'ulai shekivon gam kain el b'nei Yisrael asher yotzu miklal hadas. Maybe the nevuah is that those Jews who are in Spain who were forcibly baptized and lived as secret Jews, and after hundreds of years they already disappeared and they became lost in the main population. The Navi is saying they will too return one day and come back to their heritage. He says, those Jews that left the fold, Miklal Hadas, Mitoikev Hatzaris, Bashmados, Finisho, Betzaros of Besrad, La'alav, Ravavis, Gilos, Gedolos, says the Abarbanel, tens of thousands of Jews are somewhere lost in Spain and France today. Shehem Yashuvu, they will return. Ubikshu Hashem Lekeim, they will seek out God, Kamoi, like we see Shemehem Oisim Hayom, like we see they are today.
So they're going to return to the Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah. So according to Abarbanel, this is a very...
How are we going to know?
Eliyahu Hanavi, one of the things he does is Bala Tahir Latami. He is able to trace...
We're going to have a program to vet them.
Yeah.
And check their history to make sure we know who we're letting in the country.
Well, so probably can do it better the weekend.
Nothing
to worry about.
Not saying much.
So according to Abarbanel, this is an amazing prophecy that the Golos of Sfarad, all those Jews, tens of thousands of Jews who Nebuch were forcibly baptized, even till today, there are people in Spain who have very strange customs of lighting candles or doing certain things, and they have some tradition that there is some blood, Marrano blood in them. So according
that Spain and
I once went to Spain
to allow citizenship today.
If you can prove that you were in the 1492 and your family, you trace the history back to them, they will give you citizenship. They don't make it easy, but they would give you citizenship, recognizing the expulsion.
I once went to Spain, and I had a guide. He told me he was Jewish.
Wow. When was he Jewish?
Years ago.
Like hundreds of years ago?
No, he wasn't Jewish now.
Mm-hmm.
He was a goy now.
Very interesting.
Once a Jew, always a Jew.
Well, let's see the last pasuk
He was a Jew.
of Ovadia. V'yalu Moshiim Behar Tzion, the saviors will rise up, Mount Zion. Lishboides Har Esav, to judge the mountain of Esau. V'haisal Hashem Hamlucha, and Melucha will be to God. Now, Rabbi said the question is, who are these Moshiim? Who are the saviors who will rise up on Har Tzion to judge Har Esav and restore Melucha to God? Says Rashi, V'yalu Sarei Yisrael Moshiim Har Tzion, the princes of Israel who will be saviors for Mount Zion will rise up Lishbodas Har Esav, Lipara Me Har Esav, to pay back Har Esav Asher Asul Yisrael Lishboid Yush Titzayer Belaz. V'haisal Hashem Hamlucha. Says Rashi, Limdecha, this teaches you She'ein Malchusay Shlema, that God's Malchus is not complete Ad Sheyifra Me Amalek, until Amalek is punished. Amalek, Mandachar Shmei Amalek. We're not punishing Amalek here, we're punishing Esav. But apparently Rashi feels
An Esav derivation from Amalek derivation.
Amalek comes from Esav. But there is a medrash, Bereshis Rabbah, that applies the idea of Ein Kisei Shalem until not only Amalek is destroyed, but the whole Esav is destroyed. Now let's try to understand, who are these Moshiim? Who are these Moshiim? If you remember, Rashi in Parshas Vayishlach says that Esav asked Yaakov, why don't you come with me, join with me, let's walk together, let's travel together. And Yaakov said, no, my family is young, I have too much sheep, you go ahead and I'll catch up with you. So Rashi brings down, catch up with him. We don't find in the whole Chumash that Yaakov ever caught up with Esav. Says Rashi, yeah, we're still catching up with him, but one day we'll make it there. When is that? The end of days. we'll catch up with Esav and we'll destroy him. That's what Yaakov Avinu meant when he told Esav that I'll catch up with you. Ad asher Ovadia doini seira. When is that? Va'olu Moshiim b'har Tzion l'shbeidas har Esav. Now the Ibn Ezra says, let's just see one last machlokes between the Ibn Ezra and the Abarbanel. The Ibn Ezra, we're now on page Kuf Yud Zayin, left-hand column, the 5th line from the bottom. Excuse me, first I want you to see the Ibn Ezra's commentary. Who are these Moshiim? The Moshiim, according to the Ibn Ezra, are none other than Haim Shoftei Yisrael, the Jewish judges, Lishbait, to judge, Haseridim Bahar Esav, the remnant of Har Esav. And when they're finally judged, Az Tia Lashem Hamlucha, then God's Melucha will be complete, like the Navi Zechariah says, V'haya Hashem L'melech al kol haaretz b'yom hahu yeh Hashem achadosh mayachad. So the Ibn Ezra says these judges are the Shoftei Yisrael. Says the Abarbanel, 5 lines from the end on Kuf Yud Zayin, Ha'amna mihem ha'mashim ha'ila. Who are these Mashim? Kasva ha'mefarshim shehem ha'mashiach ugdolei doiroi. The Mefarshim say it refers to Mashiach. The Vilna Gaon says the Mashiach are Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. The Hanavi Amar, actually this refers to the Gemara. The Gemara Masechta Sukkah, Numbez Amabez, says, actually if you look in the Radak says that the Moshiim are the 7 shepherds and the 8 princes. We know in Ma'aseh we say, Hakem lanu ra yeshiva, please establish the 7 shepherds. Anybody know who are the 7 shepherds? 7 shepherds. Most people say, the Ushpizin. No. The 7 shepherds are David in the middle. On the right hand you have Shes, Chanoich, Mesushelach. The left hand you have Avraham, Yaakov, Moshe. Those are the 7 shepherds.
Didn't make the cut.
Maybe these are people who are actually shepherds. And who are the 8 princes? Yishai, Shaul, Shmuel, Amos, Zephaniah, Chizkiyahu, Eliyahu, Mashiach. Those are the 8 shepherds. However, the Ibn Ezra says, on the 2nd line from the end, Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra Kasav, Va'olu Moshiim Hem HaShoiftim, Shiur be'Eretz Yisrael. Says Abarbanel, I have one last chance to argue on the Ibn Ezra. Ve'enoi nachain. He's wrong. Why? Because what do you mean he's going to judge the remnants? We just read, how many remnants are there going to be? I'm moving now, so I know about remnants. I have to look, unfortunately, to carpet, right? But how many remnants are there going to be? Ein sarid lebeis Esav. There are going to be no remnants. You can't even buy them in a flea market. Lo yeh sarid lebeis Esav. So therefore, says the Abarbanel, the pasuk says, "Aloi ba'yimonu Hashem ba'avadati chachamim." V'lo yeh sarid, pasuk Yud Ches, lebeis Esav. So therefore, says the Abarbanel, who are the Moshiim? It's going back in the beginning.
But isn't Sarid like an officer of some sort?
The Sarid means a remnant.
A remnant?
Sridim. Well, the Abarbanel says that in the end of days, the Jewish people alone will not be able to destroy our enemies. So what that refers to, who are the Mashiach? Heim shar hagoyim asher yavoyu lihilachim al hanoitzrim ba'admas hakodesh. Remember that Abarbanel said that at the end of days, the Christians are going to come to try to liberate the Holy Land and take back Israel, and all the Arabs will come and try to destroy them. You know who our Moshiach are? The Arabs. You know who our saviors are? Says the Arabs, who will destroy the Western world, and then God will strip the Arabs of their power.
That's ISIS.
Yep.
So wait a minute. So who's destroying Esav? Bnei Israel or the
Yishmael.
Arabs?
Yishmael.
They're going to do our job for us.
They are the Mashiach according to Abarbanel.
They're not going to destroy Bnei Israel at the same time?
Nope. Them Shar Hagoyim.
We need a big change in
That's wild,
the
right?
situation if that's going to happen.
He says, "Ulafi shehem Yoshua Sars me'adam hanoitzrim." So you ask him, how could we call it the Yishmaelim are Moshiim? He says because they're going to rescue Eretz Yisrael from the Noitzrim. They're going to be God's agents for revenge. Therefore, they're called Moshiim.
The Quran teaches that Jews are just as much as infidel as the Christians.
I know, but this the Abarbanel teaches that the Yishmaelim are going to do our job.
Really?
And then listen to what he says.
Number one on the agenda will be.
They're Machrivim.
Number two on the agenda.
I wouldn't bet on
How could you call them?
It says it right here.
How could you call them Moshiim? They're Machrivim. The answer is because they're doing our job. But ultimately, they too will fall and they too will be destroyed, and Hashem will take revenge against them. But
Who's going to destroy them? Bnei Israel?
Hashem.
Hashem.
Aval Churban Edom Yeh Yoser Atzam Mofel Kfishia. Okay. So according to Abarbanel, the Goyim are called our Mashiach, and we await the great day when Melucha is restored to Ribbon Shalom, and the Kavod and the Karan Yisrael is uplifted forever and ever. This concludes Sefer Ovadia.
Good.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.